Hello students, welcome back to Civil Services Prime Time. In this week, we will discuss about some of the important aspects that were recently seen in news, especially for the last 1 week. So the topics in brief, we would include five important topics, and one important would be export promotion mission from Government of India. So let's try to understand what are the five topics. First one is anti-dumping duty. This topic is from the perspective of Vietnam government. Recently, Indian government under DGTR has imposed recommended the anti-dumping duty on steel products from Vietnam. Integrated forum on climate change and trade, which was discussed in sidelines of conference of parties 30 meeting that was recently happened. Third one, Gulf Cooperation Council, just like how Schengen area, a common area where you don't need any specific passports or visa or any restrictions are not there. In a similar way, Gulf Cooperation Council has also proposed one similar move. That is third one. Fourth one, China's rare earth export restrictions. Obviously, this topic is keep on coming in regular basis because China's rare earth elements constitutes around 90 percentage of both producing and processing capabilities in China. And when it comes to India, what was the position of India when it comes to rare earth elements, that we will discuss. Fifth one, export promotion mission. It is a topic of important for this week's IR. So let's try to understand in anti-dumping duty. So India has imposed a 5-year anti-dumping duty on hot rolled steel imports from Vietnam. So after globalization, the countries have become a global villages, right? So from exports, imports, goods and services, and technology and movement of people, this is a very common phenomena in globalization, right? In a similar way, if any country is producing the goods in their market, especially if these goods are produced excessively, surplus in our terms in surplus, obviously these surplus will be exported to different countries based on the demand of that product, right? That is the how classic international economics works. But in recent times, Vietnam has under the attention because India has imposed a 5-year anti-dumping duty because they are dumping the products, steel products into Indian markets, which were less than their market value. If these products are less than their market value, obviously these will be flooded in Indian markets. When these were flooded in Indian markets, obviously domestic production will be affected. Domestic production will be affected, and by importing these steel, especially, we are paying high prices, inflated prices in domestic markets. Let's say if this trend is going to continue, domestic industries will have to shut down their businesses. That is also one of the biggest worry. After investigations confirmed that unfairly low priced imports were harming the domestic steel industry. So these are generally labor intensive and at the same time capital intensive sectors. After going through investigations, finally the government of India has taken action. In India, anti-dumping cases are investigated by Directorate General of Trade and Remedies (DGTR). These are important for your prelims point of view. Under Ministry of Commerce. Here, DGTR is involved in investigations, but the final decision has to be taken by Ministry of Finances, which will impose us the duty on these products. So here you need to understand two aspects. One is investigation will be done by DGTR under Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and impose the imposition of duties will be carried out by Ministry of Finance, right? So, what is anti-dumping duty? ADD. Add. It is a trade remedy imposed by a country to protect domestic industries from losses caused by cheap, unfairly priced imports. So, generally, you might heard Chinese imports, right? China's goods and goods especially. So, these China's goods are imported to India, right? One example. So, here, what is the purpose of the China's intention behind these goods exported to India? Because China has a surplus of these goods. India has a demand, but to meet that demand, obviously in domestic industries they are unable to supply these products. So obviously we need to replace domestic supply with imports. That's where these countries are exporting to different nations. So imposed under WTO agreement on anti-dumping 1995, it is not a protectionist tariff but a corrective tariff against unfair trade, because here these products are very cheap in nature. Let's say if these products are sell in their home countries, obviously in these countries itself these are very cheap, right? And it will obviously have a unfair trade practices because of low and cheap imports. India is one of the largest users of anti-dumping measures globally. So on a regular basis, you might find these topic, especially anti-dumping duties from China, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Myanmar, even some from advanced countries also. India has imposing anti-dumping duties because the primary objective behind this motive is to protect the domestic industries, to generate employment, right? These are the main intention. So what is the duration of anti-dumping duty? Generally 5 years it would be. It can be extended after sunset review, after going through a periodic review of how these products are affecting domestic economies. Then it can be extended beyond the 5 years, and it can be retrospective from earlier date or earlier years also. It can be imposed in special cases, not in regular cases, but it would be in special cases. So why anti-dumping duty is needed for any country, not only India, for in general purpose, why it is needed? Protect domestic industries from being wiped out. If more and more goods are coming to India in a cheaper way, at a lesser cost, then obviously the domestic industries, whatever they have been producing so far in domestic industries, obviously they will be wiped out. To protect these domestic industries, obviously you need a ADD, ad. Prevent predatory pricing. What is predatory pricing? If there is competition between n number of firms is there, right? Let's say 5 to 6 firms are there, are producing the same product, then obviously you have a better competitive price. If these companies are gradually reduced to one or two companies, downsized to one or two, then obviously you should not find any competitive price in their goods and services, right? That is called predatory pricing. At the initial stage, they are giving at a very low prices so that the other competitors would exit from the market. Once they stabilize these market conditions, then obviously they will increase the prices. You can quote in recent times examples of India's telecom industries, right? After Geo introduction into Indian telecom sector, that was happened, right? More or less 7 to 8 companies, telecom companies were there at the time of 2016 and 17. So right now, you can imagine what is the situation of India's telecom sectors, and at the same time, what is the prices that they are charging upon the customer, average revenue per customer. So obviously, it will need for the preventing of predatory pricing. It will boost domestic production and employment. So if these products are discouraged to import in India, then obviously the domestic manufacturing capabilities will be increased. To increase the manufacturing capabilities, obviously you need a better employment opportunities. It will give better employment opportunities through the domestic population, and it also enables the fair trade between two countries, two nations under the WTO rules. So what are the concerns and criticism of this move? May increase prices for consumers. If the governments are not able to find any alternative to these anti-dumping duties, obviously the cheap products will be imported, and obviously it will, in the long run, it will increase the prices for consumers. Protection to inefficient domestic players. So obviously there are some sick industries or some sick players which are working in these industries then to protect. Risk of retaliation from other countries. If one country is doing this, let's say in this case India is doing the anti-dumping duty on Vietnam products, in a similar way Vietnam, we can expect the same principle from Vietnam also in the future. Excessive use may violate WTO spirit. The trade, especially between the nations, to reduce the tariffs. That is the major intention of WTO. If you frequently use this, obviously it will violate WTO spirit. That is the first one regarding the anti-dumping duty. Second topic is integrated forum on climate change and trade. So nothing but how trade policies on one hand will affect the climate change. Right? That is the discussion, everything about this topic. Recently, 30th Conference of Parties, COP, is nothing but Conference of Party, which is the highest decision-making body under United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, right? UNFCCC. It will regularly convening the meetings under different nations. On climate change, formally launched an integrated forum on climate change and trade. So, what is this climate IFCCT? Right? It is a politically supported forum where countries can address the increasingly contentious intersection between trade policies and climate change. Right? If you take an example of European Union carbon adjusted border management tax. So, on one hand, European Union countries wants to reduce their climate or carbon footprint in the European Union, right? They are introducing these carbon adjusted border management taxes, CABM taxes. Which countries are mostly affected by introducing this one? Especially the labor intensive sectors in which the goods are manufactured. If you case in India's textile, steel, these are the sectors where majority of the labor intensive sectors are there. So if you consider this carbon adjustment border management system or policy of European Union, then obviously the exports from India will be affected and you need to reroute to different nations or diversify into different nations. So that is the biggest problem with trade policies, and whether they are working in the same direction or in the opposite direction to merge these trade policies and climate actions or climate adaptation. The forum has been started. It was launched at COP30 Brazil on November 15th. It bridges divides between climate ambition and trade policy and help developing countries gain a stronger voice in shaping emerging trade rules. So especially this is focusing on developing nations. Developing nations are the worst when it comes to the developmental funds. These countries does not have enough resources, financial resources. Obviously, they are mostly depending upon global financial institutions or government, Western developed nations. So, because of this reason, on one hand, the climate ambition is the major goal of these nations because these are more affected. These will be the most affected countries, and these are the population most affected population, right? To control these climate change, adaptation or mitigation. And at the same time, there are policies, trade policies especially, which were in their domestic laws to bridge this climate ambition and trade policies. This is the need of the hour. It will be co-chaired by Brazil and a developed country partner along with and open to all parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on the Climate Change. The IFCCT will be institutionally independent of both WTO and UNFCCC. So here the institution itself is independent. It should not depend upon your WTO and UNFCCC. The forum will not negotiate binding outcomes. That is the biggest problem, let's say, to be honest, right? So more or less each and every country, whenever any climate change negotiations are going on, whether these are legally binding or not, that is the first point you need to understand. If these are not legally binding on the nations, then what is the purpose of making these type of negotiations, right? Or interpret existing agreements, or adjudicate disputes, or evaluate specific national measures. So these are generally required for any nations. But this IFCCT is not going to have anything to say in these agreements or disputes or specific national measures. Which nation has taken which type of policy to control the climate change effects. So that is the forum. Next one, Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC. This is the recently seen in news, one-stop travel system designed to streamline movement across member states. Whatever the countries that were in Gulf Cooperation Council, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Oman, Qatar. These are the countries that were present in Gulf Cooperation Council. Collective voice of this country's political and economic situation. So it was established in 1981, headquartered at Saudi Arabia, Riyadh. What is the type of institution, this Global Gulf Cooperation Council? Political and Economic Union. Members, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE. Sometimes these countries are important for a UPSC prelims point of view. What is the origin? To counter Iranian influence in this region, especially Middle East region, to counter the influence of Iran and ensure collective security post 1979 Iran revolution. After 1979 Iranian revolution, to collectively fight against Iranian forces and their ideology, this body was established. So what is the institutional structure? Supreme Council is the head of the state's highest decision making body. Ministerial Council, which will regularly by foreign ministers of these countries. Secretariat General executive body, which will execute the decisions of Gulf Cooperation Council. And one more important aspect is GCC single currency and monetary union. This was the proposal by GCC but not implemented yet because United Arab Emirates and Oman withdraw from this system to not depend upon the regular systems, especially Western dominated systems of whether it is SWIFT system or dollar dominance. So each and every blocks, especially regional blocks. Let's say in simple examples, in recent times after Donald Trump become United States president of United States, POTUS, right? He aggressively makes a statement about BRICS nations. If BRICS wants to create another alternative finance mechanism, then obviously we will come up with a full-fledged tariff on these countries, right? So in a similar way, GCC also has proposed one monetary system but not implemented it because the countries UAE and Oman withdrew it. What is one-stop travel system? It is a part of GCC's ambitious push to eliminate redundant travel procedures and foster stronger cooperation between member states. It will allow Gulf citizens to complete all travel procedures, including immigration, customs, and security checks at a single checkpoint. You don't need to submit all your documents and procedures. You have to kept on each and every stage of your journey. At only one point, you should do with your immigration, customs, and security checks at one point. That is the major intention.
Hello everyone. As you all know, Civil Services Prime Time is one of its kind initiative where we are teaching the students current affairs related to the particular subject one day at a time. అంటే ఒక వారంలో జరిగిన కరెంట్ అఫైర్స్ అన్ని ఒక సబ్జెక్ట్ కి సంబంధించి మేము ఒక రోజులో చెప్తున్నాం. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ ఆల్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ ద రివర్స్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ టెక్నిక్. బికాస్ మీరు ప్రతి వీడియో చూసినట్టయితే ఎండ్ లో ప్రీవియస్ ఇయర్ క్వశ్చన్స్ ప్రిలిమ్స్ చేస్తున్నాము, అలాగే ఒక క్వశ్చన్ మెయిన్స్ ఇస్తాను. సో ఇన్ ఆర్డర్ టు గెట్ డైలీ అప్డేట్స్ అట్ 7 o'clock షాప్ యాజ్ వీఆర్ డూయింగ్ ఇట్, సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేసుకోండి. అలాగే బెల్ కూడా క్లిక్ చేయండి. సో దట్ 7 o'clock కి మీకు ఇమీడియట్ గా నోటిఫికేషన్ వస్తుంది.
Next one, China's rare earth export restrictions. China imposed export controls on 7 rare earth elements, citing national security and non-proliferation reasons. So, United States has imposed tariffs, right? After that, these China's rare earth export restrictions comes into the picture. So, what is the composition of this rare earth? 17 metallic elements, including neodymium, dyspremium, yttrium, used in defense, especially electronics, renewable energy, and electronic vehicles manufacturing processes. These possess strong magnetic properties, catalytic and luminescent characteristics vital for batteries, especially wind turbines, fighter jets, and smartphones that we are using regularly. What is the global share of these rare earth elements? China controls 85 to 95% of world's refining and processing capacity, according to 2024 United States Geo Science 2024. What is India's status? Holds on the fifth reserves. India has fifth largest reserves, mainly in coastal monazite sands. So these are important, but contributes to less than 2% of the global output. We have fifth largest resource, but when it comes to processing, the output is less than 2% of the global output, according to Geological Survey of India 2024 report. So what is the impact of export restrictions by China? If China restrict the exports on these rare earth elements, then supply shocks. The first one is the supply shocks will be the imminent threat for the economies. Immediate rise in global prices. If the supply is very limited, the fundamental aspect of our economics, demand and supply, right? If supply is very less, then artificially the prices will be raised. Dysprosium projected to reach, because of these supply shocks, one element has reached to $300 per kg. Defense vulnerabilities. Rare earth elements are critical for missile guidance systems, radars, and jet engines. Strategic dependence may affect Western defense supplies. So, if China has restricted these elements to the different nations, then obviously we should depend upon another countries for their rare earth exports. If we are depending upon another nations, obviously we are at the vulnerable position. We might compromise on our defense equipments. That is the problem. Japan cut its rare earth dependence on China from 90% in 2010 to 60% in 2023. Almost 30% they have been reduced by investing in Australian mines. Obviously, China has a clear intention. You should not depend upon the China for each and every supply chain, right? Because of COVID-19, that has already we have seen in the world how these supply chain shocks were almost stagnated the world economies. The US are reviving mining under a mineral security partnership agreement. So this is also important. It was in 2024 or 25, I think. There was a question on mineral security partnership agreement. What were the India's initiatives to tackle this? Through Kabil 2023, India secured 5 lithium blocks in Argentina, is exploring rare earth extraction in Odisha and Kerala also. From India's perspective, not only domestic, even in another nations also, they are participating for the lithium blocks. And India secured 5 lithium blocks in Argentina. So let's try to keep it very simple. What is the ABC triangle of batteries, especially lithium ion batteries? In the world, there are 3 countries in the South America. So what is the ABC countries? Let's try to post it in comment section. Next one, export promotion mission. The union government has approved flagship export promotion scheme to provide comprehensive, flexible, and digitally driven framework for export promotion. So, what is this scheme is all about? It was started under Ministry of Commerce and Industry to improve India's export competitiveness because of given recent United States tariffs, right? First it was 25 percentage, then increased to 50 percentage, right? Because obviously the exports from India economy will be affected anyway. So to reduce this dependency, obviously you need to strategically move into different countries. So to move into different countries, obviously these exporters are required finances, technology, countries acceptance. So these are the some of the procedures, some of the requirements for the exporters from India. It was announced in the budget 2025-26. It prioritizes especially MSME sectors. Next, new exporters in the market and labor intensive sectors. Do let me know in the comment section what constitutes these labor intensive sectors. Almost from the starting of this class, I have been discussing this labor intensive sector and capital intensive sector. Do let me know in the comment section. What is the nodal body that is responsible for implementation? Obviously, Directorate General of Foreign Trade, DGFT, which is doing foreign trade. The targets, the mission supports India's goal to achieve $2 trillion in exports by 2030. India wants to export at least to $2 trillion of US in export volume by 2030 and raise the export to GDP ratio to 15 percentage. Obviously, you need to get more revenues from exports, and it has kept a target at 15 percentage. A total allocation of 25,060 crores will be implemented over 6 financial years from 25 to 25-26 to 30-31 financial year. It has a broader 6 years of down the line budgetary allocations. So, what is how it will work? A data driven monetary system will track exporter performance, scheme utilization to guide timely policy adjustments. So whether exporter performance is good or not, this will be checked through monitoring systems. And scheme utilization, whether these schemes are really utilized by these exporters or not, that they will take care. The mission consolidates fragmented schemes. Earlier, the schemes were there before this export promotion scheme. There is interest equalization scheme and market access initiative into a unified support mechanism. By merging these two schemes, the government has come up with this new initiative with a budget allocation for 6 years. What were the priority sectors? Labor intensive sectors such as textiles, gems, leather, and marine products will receive a focused support in response to global tariff escalations, because the global tariff escalations are very high in recent times after POTUS, President of United States, and each and every day if you observe United States news, there is a statement from President, whether it should be on India, China, Russia, or European countries or South American countries. So the international relations is very challenging and dynamically not interpreted in a single way. That is the simple thing. A dedicated digital portal integrates all submissions and dispersal processes with existing trade systems for digital handling. So this complete export promotion scheme will be done through digital. So whatever the submissions by exporters and whatever the dispersals will completely done through existing trade systems. The mission will operate through two coordinate components, Niryat Protsahan and Niryat Disha. Right? So, what is Niryat Protsahan? Expands exporters' access to affordable trade finances. Obviously, if you want to export any commodity to rest of the world, what you need? obviously you need a finances. So affordable trade finances will be done through Niryat Protsahan and reduces their overall cost of borrowing. It provides interest subvention if you regularly repay the interest component on your principal amount, then government will also take some portion of your interest rate would be subvented. Collateral free guarantees, obviously you don't need to keep any collateral for loans, and export factoring support to broaden available financing options. So this is the financial tools under Protsahan. Under Disha, it delivers non-financial support. One is financial support, second one is non-financial support to exports, market preparedness and trade competitiveness. It covers quality certification, whether our products are really pass through different quality checks, international branding, trade fairs, especially just take how fairs are going in different parts of the world. In a similar way, in the world also trade fairs are going on regular basis, right? To participate into these trade fairs, the government will promote warehousing and inland transport reimbursements to ease non-financial barriers. These are the some of the support areas under which these two schemes are used for the export promotions. Next, coming to the discussions of previous year questions that I have taken 2025 previous year questions, five previous year questions of multiple choice questions and one mains based question. So, which one of the following launched the Nature Solutions Finances Hub for Asia and the Pacific? To be honest, this topic, until unless you regularly following these international financial institutions, it should not that much easy to get the answer. But the Nature Solutions Finance Hub for Asia and Pacific is launched by Asian Development Bank, none other than. What was the purpose of this, right? To mobilize the resources from both public and private into the nature based solutions across the Asia Pacific region to like biodiversity, ecosystem restoration, nature based climate adaptation and mitigation, aligning with global climate and nature finance goals. To meet all these requirements, you need a finance, whether it should be private from public. Obviously, Asian Development Bank has launched this project in 2023 under Conference of Parties 28 session. Next one, consider the following statements. India has joined the Mineral Security Partnership as a member. Just now we have discussed, right? India is a resource rich country in all the 30 critical minerals that it has identified. The Parliament in 2023 has amended Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act 1957, empowering the central government to exclusively auction mining lease and composite license for certain critical minerals. So, if you look at first statement, India has joined Mineral Security Partnership as proposed by USC, right? That is the correct statement. Second, India is a resource rich country in all the 30 critical minerals that I had as identified. India has all 30 critical minerals. There is no doubt in that. But some of the critical minerals still we are depending upon what? Imports. So technically this statement is incorrect. We have resource rich country in all the critical minerals, but through imports also we are getting these resources. The parliament, third one is obviously correct, because in 2023 itself the government has identified and want to lease and composite licenses for certain critical minerals. That's why they have amended the act. India has joined the member in 2023 itself. 30 critical minerals it has identified. That's good. Although India has identified a list of 30 critical minerals, some of the important critical minerals were met through imports. Part D of the first schedule under Mines MMDA 2023 Under the Part D of the first schedule, certain critical and strategic minerals required for the economic and strategic significance of the country, the central government will conduct auction for mining leases or composite licenses in respect of minerals which were specified in these critical or strategic minerals. Consider the following statements in respect of BIMSTEC. It is a regional organization consisting of 7 member states till January 2025. The exam was conducted in May, right? The question asked till 2000 January 25. So that is the significance of current affairs. It came into existence with the signing of Dhaka Declaration. The Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Nepal are founding member states of BIMSTEC. In BIMSTEC, the subsector tourism is being held by India. So, if you look at the fourth option, as far as BIMSTEC negotiations are conducted, it was Nepal. Ar- some articles mentioned that Nepal has launched the subsector of tourism. Nepal wants to promote tourism, but here India is given. So anyway, I will take this out. Incorrect statement. Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Nepal are founding members of BIMSTEC. Earlier it was BISTEC, right? There is no Nepal. After that, Nepal has joined. This is also incorrect. It came into existence with the signing of Dhaka Declaration. No, this was Bangkok Declaration. Bangkok Declaration. No. This is also incorrect statement. It is a regional organization consisting of 7 member states till January 2025. This is a technically correct statement. So the only statement correct here, the question is asking about correct. D. It is a regional organization. Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. It came into existence with the signing of Declaration. This is incorrect because it was evolved from Bangkok Declaration, and earlier it was BISTEC. This EC is economic cooperation. Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Nepal are founding members of BIMSTEC. Incorrect because the founding members were Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. Nepal later joined in 2004. In BIMSTEC, the subsector of tourism is being led by India. There is a conflicting information. Some sources may said that India leads the tourism sector. Some Nepal leads the tourism sector. Consider the following pairs: International Year of Women Farmers, International Year of Substantial and Resilient Tourism, International Year of Peace and Trust, International Year of Asteroids Awareness and Planetary Defense. This is technically, but all the above options are correct. Next one, India is one of the founding members of the International North-South Transport Corridor (INSTC), a multimodal transport corridor which will connect INSTC, India to Central Asia, and India to Central Asia to Europe via Iran, India to Central Asia via China. No, there is no mentioning of China. India to Southeast Asia through Bangladesh and Myanmar. That is also not India North-South Transport Corridor, especially Central Asian countries to Europe. India to Europe through Azerbaijan. No, this is also incorrect. The correct statement is A. It was a 7,200 kilometer multi-modal. Multi-modal is nothing but whether it should be ship, rail, or road transport connecting India to Iran, Central Asia, Russia, and Europe. Starts from India, Mumbai, reaches Iran, Bandar Abbas port or Chabahar port, onward, rail and road through, continues to Central Asia and Russia. After that, it was extended to Europe. So, INSTC is to connect the countries, especially from India to Europe, between Middle East nations, Central Asian nations. Next one, mains question. With the waning of globalization, post Cold War, world is becoming a site of sovereign nationalism. Elucidate. So what is the key concept here? The first one is globalization, declining phase of globalization. Because if you look at the recent instances of world economies, so the protective measures were very high in each and every nation. And sovereign nationalism, each and every country wants to protect their country's wealth without depending upon another nations, and almost trying to exert pressure on another nations through different measures, whether it should be tariff, right, whether it should be diplomatic pressures. So the key concept here in this question is decline of globalization and rise of nationalism. So answer writing approach should be how? Introduction should be the post Cold War era is initially characterized by unprecedented globalization driven by liberal economic order, technology, and multilateralism. From post Cold War, after 1990s to now, how the world economy or world economic order has changed. Decline of globalization momentum, slowing global trade and investments after 2008 financial crisis, weakening of WTO centric rules, right? Reshoring and friendshoring of supply chains, especially after 2020, because of these supply chains shocks that was caused by China. The countries are mostly preferring reshoring or friendshoring. Strategic industries being brought back home. So in earlier cases, the strategic industries were present across the globe. But the nations have realized that these were very important for our geopolitical and economic significance. That's why they have to brought back. Rise of protectionist trade policies, just like tariff wars between India and USA, India and China, India and Russia and USA, sanctions, export controls. These are some of the protectionist trade policies. The conclusion: the post-Cold War is a transition from cooperative globalized order to competitive sovereignty centric. In earlier instances, the world how it was going to work is cooperative between different nation states. But in recent times, it was completely sovereignty centric problem. So the countries are realizing that depending upon another country's supplies or their policies would ultimately destroy their economies. That is how conclusion should be. So if you want to answer this question, please maintain the dedicated mains answer writing practice book and send your answers to response at CivicCentre.in for Civic Center IAS Masters valuable feedback. Right? So here, introduction part, body and conclusion. Whether it should be correct or not, that's not an issue. At the earlier stage, obviously you might find some difficulty in answering the question. But once you are thorough with this subject or the context under which these questions were asking, then you are able to crack this mains answer writing practice. That is the discussion for today's class regarding last week international relations affairs. Hope you are enjoying the class. If you have any uh, doubts and if you want me to explain any specific topic especially, feel free to ask us in comment section. We are very happy to help you. Thank you.
CivicCentre IAS is offering Telangana Group 1 Prelims cum Mains classes as well as Andhra Pradesh Group 1 Prelims cum Mains classes in English medium for a period of 8 to 10 months. This also covers the complete NCERT textbooks and statewide textbooks. So, what are you waiting for? Learn through reverse engineering technique today. Admissions are in progress. Join now. Visit our website. Thank you.